Kotelawala's head, who is then the future Prime Minister of Sri Lanka.
So, sort of, when you get to like a name like that you don't really know how to pronounce.
I would just call him John myself. I mean, I can see what you're looking at, so I mean.
We make him like a nickname.
What about
John K. Yeah. You can't. You're not gonna get like points off for that. It won't. It will not hurt your score. River. Listen up. Because that's why, so he's part of the Ceylon Light Infantry, and they won't come get him anymore. They've been the ones that have been like protecting him and covering up all this embarrassing stuff he's doing on the trains. And well, yeah, I mean, you just need to address that he's part of that and that they don't come.
Did his father?
Oh, but I thought you just know like what the Ceylon Infantry, Light Infantry is, instead of saying like the Ceylon Light Infantry, which he's a part of, won't come get him because.
Sorry, yeah, no, you have to acknowledge that that's who won't come get him by saying what it is. By saying Ceylon Light Infantry. Okay? I mean, you guys, the more you can add, the higher your level of score. So if you know more about it or you're historical, that's your strength. Okay?
Did his father ever serve in the war at all? Or no?
I don't remember anything in here about it, but I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
PTSD.
Yeah, I don't know. But he definitely, I mean, I think it's more alcohol than that. But you could, I mean, personal responsive could remind you of that. Yeah. The major, so this is another one that the style is fairly straightforward, but there are dashes, there are editorial comments, there's a lot of light and dark symbolism. He's actually referring to his dad as a different breed of dog. Okay, so if you're tracking motifs, that's in there. And then there's all this other part about his mom and about literature. So Tennyson and Yeats are British and Irish poets, like romantic poets. And so it's showing, like, it's very random, in my opinion, for him to say, and my mother, the lover of Tennyson and early Yeats, began to realize she caught on to a different breed of dog. That's random. To, like, who cares what books she reads? So that's got to be something more about, like, his tie to his mom. Okay? That she is also educated, she loves reading, that's their connection.
So, like, if I were to ask about that, it says a moment only Conrad could have written it.
Yeah.
What is that?
So Joseph Conrad wrote The Heart of Darkness, which is what the movie Apocalypse Now was modeled after, if you've seen that. The Heart of Darkness is this idea of a man going deep into the jungles of Africa and basically losing it, just completely like this, it's like neurotic breakdown, but it's also colonial versus, it's a book, yeah.
Fairly complex illusion.
It's a very complex illusion, but it's also something everyone would have read at the time, like that would be popular then, and so would Tennyson and Yeats. Tennyson and Yeats would be high class, like high culture. Conrad would be all, like everyone would have read that. So if you don't know it, you say, this is an allusion to an author that means nothing to me.
That's the problem with all
That's
these
what you
books.
do.
It'll become like computable after like 10 years. By then, all of their illusions are outdated.
Well, these are three classic authors, classic European authors, very famous. So you either remember that and say it, or you ignore it, acknowledge that it leaves you in the dark. Okay, either way. Austin?
When you say like he's editorializing it, do you mean like the one where it says they've been married for 6 years? Or is that just him trying to keep track of the events?
That's him trying to keep track. The army would not allow her to advertise his military connections. That's something he's heard.
Okay. So
He's commenting on it.
Okay.
And then it comes up with suicide again, which parallels that last one. There's also subtle things like, it says talking about a suicide in a 3/4 mile long tunnel, for God's sake, exclamation point. That's him editorializing, like how embarrassing, that's him putting the emphasis on the embarrassment of his dad and how hard it was on mom. Okay, also the 6 years is to give you a hint, they were married for 14. So this didn't like break the marriage for her, which most of us, this would kind of be the final straw. So it says a lot about who she is and how tough she is, or how numb she is to all of this, because she endures it for 8 more years. And so part of what he's trying to figure out is, why did his mom endure this? Like, why would you? It's awful, it's embarrassing, he's threatening to kill himself, he's violent, and so it's more of like trying to make sense of that relationship. And then that's when he talks about how the only picture he has is them being silly in that weird picture. And so he's looking for the problems. He's looking for what led to the divorce. Okay.
Did you tie like his mother's strength and like getting through that, like back to how it like is opposite of when they said that like affairs were stronger than marriages?
Yeah. So she is actually putting energy into this marriage when other people are having public affairs, and she doesn't kind of fit in. And that's also why she moves to England. She's not part of the society, and she never really was. Austin?
What a part that confused me actually, Jill, was the no shoes, or because like she overlooked the shoes in the Mississippi.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that had any significance because it's like he complained about it later on.
Yeah, so, well, it's to show, like, he's the one who took off all his clothes and his shoes and left him on the train, and she brings him his clothes and doesn't bring the shoes, and he's mad at her. So it goes to, like, how irrational he is and blames her. And, like, why would you come for me? That shouldn't be coming out of his mouth. I mean, his wife. Something else, like, placement-wise, this is just kind of an interesting thing right here. It's not in the passage, but if you struggle with placement, right after this, he goes into this comment about how hard it is for his mom to write and express herself in writing, and that would make her different than him. He can't relate to his mom. So if that works for you, use it. If not, you don't have to acknowledge that. Okay? And then it builds on all of this craziness. It goes into, the rest of the chapter goes into like his dad and the other guy who have this like battle in the guest book, you know, like at these like bed and breakfast type things. They sign in, but they're like telling each other off in the guest book and outdoing each other, which is a really weird thing to waste your energy on. Okay, so it goes to the recklessness and kind of like just the dad's personality. Like there's, you know, he's also eccentric, and it also ties to the fact that Ondaatje respects Layla for being eccentric and hates it about his dad. Like, so the same character trait really makes him mad about his dad and makes him love her and like think she's, you know, worth respecting. So there's a lot of irony in who he's choosing to side with here. Does that one make sense? Yep. Do we need to do more on it? We're good? Okay, so, what? Yeah, James?
I was wondering that the last part of that chapter where he talked about the last train ride, he makes the point of saying near the top of 154 that he was almost naked again, but he had the shoes on this time. And implied he remembered from the last time that he didn't get shoes.
Yeah.
But the question is that dead drunk, how's he remembering?
I don't know, but the thing about his dad, I mean, his dad would like get into these like phases of being like binge drinking and hide things around his farm and then remember where they were and dig them up later. I mean, there's some weird things like he's learning little lessons about the next time I don't want to make this mistake, but then he does something more reckless. And humor. He's using humor. Ondaatje's using humor.
Maybe he only remembers things when he's already drunk.
Maybe, yeah.
He's just trying to. Maybe when he's sober, he's actually drunk.
Maybe. That Question. Dominant effect of this one? You could say, like, the dominant effect is a negative, like, you know, a negative view of his father, or that it's setting up the blame in the relationship against his dad and his mom as the victim. You could do that. It's authorial intent of trying to make sense of a moment that should have led to divorce and didn't. Like, I would do it with character or the irony of the mom not leaving him after all this. It's more on the relationship, I think. But there are themes in there. I mean, theme of marriage, theme of love, like she obviously loves him if she's staying with him. Or you could do the light and dark symbols. That's a pretty big dominant effect you can tie things to, because the light is like the reality of the relationship, the dark is what's hiding and or denied. That would work. You could do survival, like the theme of survival and what that really means. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Chelsea?
Quick question. Did you use, in like the first paragraph toward the end, it says a railway lantern that he had shattered as soon as she reached it, could be like him trying to push her away and like break their marriage, but then like her saving it?
Yeah, I mean, he's shattering the thing that's offering light and help to the relationship. He's shattering it. So it also goes to kind of his self-destructive behavior. You could also use the theme of recklessness and tie that back to how we first meet him. I mean, he's reckless in college and as a child, all that. Does that help? Okay, so the next one is